Hello, and welcome, adventurers, once again to the Guild Hall. We are super excited to have you here on this wonderful Sunday and to be returning to our Strophes of Agonia campaign. I am the Guild Master, and today I am joined by our very favorite adventurers, Goro, the Leonin Battle Master, Mora, the Human Enchantment Wizard, Ryutaro, the Human Drake Warden Ranger, and of course, Aya, our half-elf Light Cleric. As we begin today, first, a little official Guild Hall business. Allow me to check the ledger. Yes. Okay, first and foremost, the Guild Hall AXD is officially a Twitch affiliate. Big round of applause and hype for that achievement. Thank you, everyone who has become a fellow guildmate in such a short time. It is highly appreciated. It is hugely appreciated. You are all so incredible and so amazing. Now, to celebrate, at the end of the stream, we will be rolling some D100s and choosing 3 winners for our Twitch stream chibi art giveaway. So the grand prize for that is going to be, the grand prize winner will receive a custom chibi design of a character of their choosing. So maybe this is a character from your own VTuber or your own PNG tuber. Maybe this is a character from your favorite anime or your original character for your own D&D campaign. Whatever it is, you and I, we will jam. If you've been watching us on Twitch at all, we've been making a bunch of this chibi art and having a really great time with it. So we are going to add your character to the queue, and you will get a chibi just like what you've seen on our stream. Second and third place will also be awesome. We're going to be doing a kind of shoulder up version of the character. Yeah, so that'll be kind of like a profile pic style version of the character. So that should be really cool as well. And again, if you want to use it for your D&D campaigns, your Twitter profile, your Facebook profile, whatever it is you want to use it, there it'll be for you. So that should be a lot of fun as well. We've been drawing the chibis on stream, and we'll be doing that again next week. So I hope you'll join us on stream for that. If you're not already following us on Twitter and Instagram, I've been posting our weekly content stream schedule to those platforms. I'm still trying to figure out the Twitch one. It's a little wonky, but we'll get there, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So we're drawing during the week, and then we're playing D&D on the weekends. It doesn't get much better than that. Next item. During our last session, Mora cast Hold Person on a troll. Now, normally, a troll would not meet the requirements of this spell. However, upon a further autopsy, it was discovered that this troll had a great aunt that was, in fact, human. It's just that because she religiously voted for Republicans and lived in Florida, that it was initially assumed that she, too, was a troll. Apologies, though, for any initial confusion. Going forward, barring any distant ancestry, trolls and other giant lineage creatures will not be affected by Hold Person spells. Next up, if you have been following along so far, you may have noticed that the first episode of the Strophes of Agonia campaign on YouTube is up, but only the first part. Now, this is intentional to a degree. Each week, we will be uploading a new episode from the previous session using our mid-game break as something of a divider line, yeah? Still, though, the question should be begged, why is there no second episode, Guildmaster? Well, frankly, after rewatching the first episode, it became clear that there was quite a bit that needed to be adjusted, reworked from a presentation point of view to ensure the best possible viewing experience. If you all know me, the Guildmaster, I tend to be a little bit of a perfectionist and tend to fall a bit short of that mark. So we are making those changes. They have been made for the most part. And so the second episode should be up either later tonight or very early tomorrow morning. Going forward, you will be able to catch each new episode of the Strophes of Agonia when we upload them every Tuesday to YouTube. And with that, I believe we can get back to the adventure at hand. In our last session, these brave adventurers battled against a pair of enraged owlbears. It was a harrowing fight, but using an impressive amount of teamwork, they were able to slay one of their attackers and beat a hasty retreat, while the other fell under the effects of Mora's well-timed sleep spell. After the fight, they were discovered by Kona, the bright and charming druid girl, who showed them to the elder tree, which protects the heart of the forest. Here, a grove of druids led by Gale, a friendly and kind older druid, watch over and protect the tree. Gale had asked the Adventurers Guild for help, as something in the woods had been disturbing the peace as of late. While the druids are well equipped to protect the great tree, they have found that these sorts of matters are often best left to professional adventurers to handle. After an evening of fine food and tea, the party settled in for a long rest. Aya was taken to the baths to heal her wounds from the earlier battle. Ryu and Kona went to explore the nearby forest. Goro and Gale dove into the druid's drying room filled with rare herbs and spices for making teas, and Mora retreated to the druidic library and pored over various scrolls and tomes documenting the history of the great forest and the surrounding areas. Dawn comes to the forest. The druids awake and begin their various daily chores. They tend to the gardens, feed various forest creatures that have learned to stop by for a morning meal, and begin to prepare a breakfast for the adventurers.
In a time now lost to history, the world was ruled by the forces of darkness and chaos. Then the god Dayran, along with his younger siblings, created light. They rose up and ousted the old gods, bringing new life to the world. Despite the new gods' victory, some of the forces of evil managed to escape banishment and continued to plague mankind. Then, 500 years ago, the great warrior king Agon battled the final and strongest demon lord, and from his victory, the glorious kingdom that bears his name Agonia sprung forth. Peace flourished as the kingdom became a center of culture, magic, religion, and military might. To guard against the demons and monstrosities that might lurk in the dark shadows and far corners of the world, the Adventurers Guild stands ready. With sword and spell in hand, these brave souls keep the bright light of Dayran and the courage of Agon alive. These are their songs. These are the Strophes of Agonia.
Well, there you have it. So, morning comes to the grove as a small group of curious children have snuck into Aya's room along with Koji, who has coaxed away from a sleeping Ryutaro with the promise of snacks by some of the children. Not far away, a few more pester a now awake Mora and Goro. Those that are in Aya's room are kind of giggling innocently as they examine her half-elf ears and peek at a green emerald pendant wrapped around her neck. And that is where we will begin.
Yeah, my ears twitch up and down a little bit as they as one of the children might go to touch it, and it just kind of flitters a little, and she kind of wiggles away from it yeah, my ears are a little sensitive.
So as soon as they realize she is awake, the children giggle and scurry out of the room. Their kind of torsos outpacing the speed of their legs as they somewhat trip over themselves. Two of the boys kind of turn around the corner and ran smack dab into the enormous Goro, who is at the hallway just outside.
I look down and I give a big toothy grin. Good morning. Where can I get some food?
Just in the main hall across the bridge. And they can't contain their excitement as they kind of turn and run towards what is clearly the great hall. And all of the buildings up in buildings might be a strong word. You are in the elder tree, and throughout the elder tree, you'll remember it's enormously large. And so the rooms and buildings have literally been carved into the tree itself. So everything is just hand-carved wood rooms in the knots and the twists and the turns of this tree.
And I just kind of sit up and stretch and... morning, Goro.
Good morning.
And I kind of get up and, like, adjust my hat back on top of my head and smooth down my giant mane of hair that's just kind of been everywhere. It's just... takes that little emerald pendant, tucks it back underneath her cloak.
At this point, I think I kind of just slide into the door frame. My hair's all in disarray, and I have, like, my shirt's bare there. I'm like, have you guys seen Koji? I woke up and I don't know where he is. Koji!
Hold on.
Koji!
Hold on, let me just check something. And I turn around and I, just to check, open up my bag to see if Koji's inside.
He is, and his cheeks are stuffed as wide as they can be with rations and biscuits and whatnot.
Koji! Get out of there, please. Koji. Koji.
He kind of swallows a big mouthful of the rations, flaps his wings, and flies around to Ryutaro, giving him a very affectionate morning nuzzle.
I should have known. You just needed some food, huh? Good job, Koji. I knew you weren't in any trouble. I wasn't worried at all.
Uh-huh.
It's at about this time that Gale kind of walks by and looks at the children and gives a little cough. And so the remaining children kind of all, again, giggle and scurry out of the room. And he looks to the three of you, Goro, Aya, and Ryutaro, and says, would you care to join us in the Great Hall before you head out on your adventure? We've prepared quite a lovely spread of fruits and vegetables. And
oh, yes, please.
Wonderful.
Lead the
An
way.
adventure on an empty stomach.
Yes, follow me. And so he'll lead you into the Great Hall, and there is that buffet there waiting for you. Please, friends, help yourself.
Can do. And I just run over, and I think Koji kind of just hops off and flies faster than I can run, which is, and just dives into the nearest platter of food, and I quickly follow.
I have a heaping plate of basically everything, as well as my own little personal tea set, and have my morning quiet contemplation over hot breakfast tea and all the food that I can possibly consume.
I take a nice platter of a little sampling of everything, and I find a little place to kind of sit down.
Mora will enter the hall a moment or two after everyone else is settled, taking her time, looking utterly immaculate, as though every hair is in place, everything is absolutely clean. You're not, the casual observer might not know where she found the room or the time to put herself so well together. And she will come over to the table and take the most interesting of each of the items there. The things that she doesn't recognize right away, and she will create a small and precisely ordered plate out of it, and in the middle scoop something that looks absolutely delicious into a giant pile.
There's a venerable feast of fruits and vegetables, juices, but clearly these druids have also mastered baking, so there are sweets and strudels and things similar to donuts all kind of laid out in a delicious spread. So you're certainly able to find some very delectable breakfast things.
Absolutely sticky strudel, then.
Yeah. So as well put as Mora is, well put together as Mora is, you all notice that she can't resist a sticky strudel, and it's as if daring it as she eats. It's as if she's daring some of the stickiness to stay to her finger, but even strudel frosting isn't that brave. And so she eats it. Gale will turn to Goro and Mora, and as he eats, and he says, "So, you've decided then to help us in our desire to figure out what it is that is disturbing the forest. You'll set out today?"
After my tea.
Of
Once
course.
the-
take your time.
Once we are ready, of course we will assist you. It's quite fascinating what we have in the library here, and we look forward to learning more and helping you in any way we can.
Oh, we so appreciate that. Oh, it'll be nice to have peace in the forest again, and I'm sure adventurers as capable as yourselves will be of great aid. And it's about this time that Kona kind of pops up, the very friendly young woman that you met yesterday and that Ryutaro spent quite a bit of time. And she kind of poutingly looks at Ryutaro and says, "Are you sure you have to go? I mean, you could just stay here with us, and if trouble comes to the Elder Tree, you could just help protect it here."
Kona, you know that I can't sit still for that long. It's not like we're going to be gone forever. We're just going to go take care of some business. I'll stop by and eat some more of this. I mean, don't worry. We'll be back.
She looks to the whole group in this, and she says, well, you promise that if you do figure out what happened, that you'll come right back here before you go anywhere else, right?"
Of course. And plus, if we don't take care of it, then the rest of the forest will be hurt. And you don't want that.
No, exactly. And she gives Koji like a little pet, and Koji has been very affectionate with Kona the entire time. And so he kind of, as Ryutaro's eating and after he's already stuffed himself with rations and whatnot, seems to be taking something of a cat nap on Kona's shoulder. But the party is able to have a lovely breakfast. You've had a long rest over the previous evening, and so it's relatively early. The druids don't sleep in late. They're up with the sun, and so it's probably about 6 or 7 in the morning. And Gale will inform you that there is a village encampment of halflings and satyrs that live down the river, and those groups are the ones who were the first to mention problems in the forest, and so it might be worth checking in with them to see if they have anything more to report, or you'd be free to investigate out in the forest.
Well, I think that we should probably go check out those satyrs then. I mean, if they saw it first, hopefully they'll have something, I mean, as much as I love romping in the forest, I want to solve this as quick as possible. The longer we wait, the more things get hurt.
And the more information we have, the more prepared we'll be, hopefully.
Exactly.
I finish
What?
my tea and food, then I promptly rise and say, my spear and sword, my spear and shield are ready. When do we depart?
Is Kona still nearby?
Yes, she's nibbling on a strudel as well, kind of sitting next to Ryutaro.
To lean across the table and say, Kona, would you give me your hand for a moment?
Oh, of course. And she'll reach her hand out to you.
I will reach forward and touch it, and as I do, an image, a silhouette of a black raven appears upon her palm. And it will remain there as I draw my hand away. And I will say, Kona, you have touched us, we have touched you. We will return. I will not forget you.
And she kind of, her eyes swell up with emotion as she kind of holds the hand with the raven mark in it. She's like, I await your return. Please hasten back to us as soon as you can.
Let us go.
All right.
So, as a party, you, Gale and Kona, as well as the children, all kind of see you off back into the great forest as you make your way towards the river, where Gale had instructed that if you just kind of follow that upstream, if you follow that upstream towards the west, you'll eventually come to you should eventually come to the village in early afternoon. And as you walk into the forest and turn, you might turn ever so momentarily back, you see Gale waving, several of the children kind of happily waving and doing cartwheels and whatnot to try to get your attention as you guys all leave, and there's Kona still kind of holding on to the raven marking that Mora has given her. After a while, you found yourselves in the forest. Not much has changed since yesterday. It is a thick and deep wood with enormous trees ranging anywhere from 50 to 100 feet tall. It is not uncommon to hear birds singing, deer running by, the occasional raccoon, and some little raccoonlings cross in front of your way. But you quickly find the river, and you're able to follow it upstream. As you head upstream towards the satyr village, is there anything that anybody would like to do along the way?
I'm gonna be trying to kind of as we're going through the woods, looking for signs of things like distress, and because I know that weird things have been coming through, see if there's any of that feeling that I had before of that something bigger that was attacking the owl bears and things like it. Any big marks on trees, like scratches.
Right.
Keep an eye out.
Okay, go ahead and give me a nature check.
Okay, and since this is my favorite terrain, I have advantage.
Right.
Ooh.
All right, I got a 21.
21. Okay. So once you get to the river, the party's kind of moving on up along the river. Ryutaro takes a moment, and he steps to the river's edge. And at first, everything seems ordinary. But as he begins walking along the river's edge and looking down onto the eddy where the water changes direction, he notices kind of an ooze, a viscous, mucousy ooze. Not a lot, just maybe enough to have a handful. And he walks a little bit further, and he sees a little bit more. But as you look around, and it doesn't seem as though you're being watched. It doesn't seem as though there's more of it. It's just, it's not mud. It's not droppings. It's just ooziness, gloopiness, mucusy. And you kind of wipe your hand off with it, but that's what you notice.
Look at that.
Ooh.
Hey, does anybody know what this is? I just like
I
try
go
and
over
like kind of
take a
poke
look.
it with a stick and kind of bring it over.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna walk up and take a look at what he's looking at. Can I roll something for that?
For Aya, let's see. You could also roll a nature check.
Okay. 5.
Yeah, so you look at it and you kind of wide-eyed looking at Ryutaro like, that looks like goop. And the two of
Indeed, it
you
does.
just admire it for a moment.
It kind of looks like that one time when in the monastery where the jam went bad.
You know, it does kind of look like jam.
A little bit, doesn't it? Ugh.
Mora would like
I
to
wouldn't put that on
investigate.
toast.
Sorry.
Yeah, Mora, could you make a history check for me?
11.
11, okay. Nothing immediately comes to mind other than you've done plenty of reading about flora and fauna. You've certainly done plenty of reading just last night regarding the plants and life in the area. And this doesn't seem to immediately trigger anything in your knowledge of what should or could be in the forest, and it doesn't seem like it's plant or some kind of plant or natural occurrence here is what you gather.
If the rest of you wouldn't mind, perhaps I could take a little time. I could investigate it a little further in an arcane fashion. See if there's something magical lingering here.
Yeah, I mean,
I certainly would be opposed to that.
this is some weird stuff. I think the more we know might give us some hints on what we're going into.
Very well. And with that, Mora will sit, and I pull out a tome that I've been carrying in my pack, as well as some implements, and draw some symbols on the ground in the mud or the stick or the dirt or what's nearby. And I will take a little bit of the goop and pull it forward and begin casting a ritual detect magic upon it. We'll take 2
While
minutes.
Mora does this, I keep a watch on the surrounding trees around us.
Okay. So
I am just fascinated in everything that Mora is doing because it's so different.
yes, indeed, it is. As you well know, Aya, there are 2 major branches of magic in this world of Agonia. The first being the wizarding types of magic that include a great deal of studying and largely are controlled by the Academy of Magic out of Ravenslock. And then there is the divine magic, which you yourself are quite skilled in. But yes, you are correct to say that everything Mora does in terms of how she controls her magic is very different than your own. Goro, as you are looking around, it's clear that the forest is active with life. You hear a slight squeal as a fox nearby seems to have found a rabbit's warren and is chasing after several rabbit, but it doesn't seem as though anything is immediately trying to attack the group or party. Isn't it amazing when your mind as a dungeon master actually works? And so now that you're taking it in fact, it's quite a pleasant day. Mora, you spend the 10 minutes to cast detect magic. Unfortunately, as the time comes to an end, you don't detect any magic per se in the goop. But as you've been handling it, you feel a stinging sensation on your skin. Not for any, damage, but stinging in the way that if something were acidic or stringent, right? You had a slight cut on your hand and are handling a lemon, right? So you feel the longer that you're holding on to this, a burning sensation on your hands, and you get the sense that this is if not magical, certainly something that you don't want to spend too much time handling.
All right, but no magic from anything else in the goop or the river or anything?
No.
Well, this is a natural substance, whatever it is, and I think it probably has some acidic base to it. It is rather eating into my skin.
Oh.
And I will, since the spell is now up, I will hold it for 10 minutes and I will quietly, calmly look at each of them in turn and see if I detect any magic on them.
You look at each of them, and Goro, no magic except for this glorious mane, and
It just glimmers in the sunlight.
yeah, Goro's like standing on a rock by the river, and he just like kind of shakes his mane, and there's a little bit of like glitter that must have fallen on him in the druid's camp. The sun just hits it right.
I can just see it now. It's beautiful.
What are you looking at? Why are you looking at me that way?
Nothing. I just look away.
Ryutaro has found like a melon and is like chomping on it, but nothing magical there.
Yeah.
Aya, you sense as you look at Aya, obviously there's a little bit of clerical magic that is always present with Aya, but kind of underneath her cloak, where she tucked that pendant away, you notice kind of a glimmering of magic, and you get that sensation of magic emanating off of this pendant.
Do I have any sense of which school of magic it is then?
It is... would be No. Sorry. You're the enchantment. Sorry. No, this would be transmutation magic. Yes, transmutation magic.
At that, I will just simply smile, making a mental note.
Okay.
So, I'm going to say, hey, Mora, do you have any, like vials or something that we could put some of this in? I mean, it kind of looks like some slime, but if can't figure it out now, maybe we can find somebody who knows it or seen something like it. But all I got is my water skin, and I don't really want to put it in that. Yuck.
Well, I have something I can repurpose, and it's not a water skin. Here. And with that, I will dig out one of the several small reagent bottles I have, pour out a form of peppercorns, and hand it over to Ryu.
Awesome. I'm gonna go over and just scoop some up and trying to not touch it as best as possible, but get it into that vial and cork it before putting it in my pack.
Sure, that's easy enough to do.
Question. Does the goop go off in a trail, or is it just here and there?
It is, as you look around, it's kind of finding, when you do find little bits of it, You find it kind of in quiet parts of the river, right? So like along eddy lines where that water along the very edge of the river is kind of going the opposite direction of the current and creating these kind of like quiet spots. It's kind of glommed. You find a couple different gloops of it in the area, but there's also not much of it.
Well, I think if we keep following this river, either we'll reach the satyrs or maybe we'll find where this is coming from, because I don't know, this seems a little off, but I can't quite put my finger on what it is.
Agreed.
I would have to say, something was clearly here and left this behind. And it definitely doesn't seem natural, so... She kind of... I kind of shudder a little bit at the sight of the pseudo jam and remembering one time when I accidentally ate some bad jam on my toast, and it left a sour taste in my mouth.
So as we kind of continue down the river, I do want to kind of keeping an eye out for this, see if not just in the eddies, but if I see any kind of place where a slime or something kind of entered the river, like a trail or something.
I'd like to help with that. I'll assist him.
Okay. So the party continues moving up the river, and as you do, very occasionally you see a small gloop, a small glop of this mucusy-like substance. Specifically because you're looking for it, because otherwise, if you were just walking through the woods, it'd be very, very hard to distinguish. The afternoon goes on. The morning goes on, and soon you find yourselves in the early afternoon when you find yourself approaching what you assume to be the satyr village, because kind of up ahead you're able to notice kind of wooden slat walling kind of around, and you can see some smoke billowing calmly up from campfires and whatnot, and you can hear voices and movement. So let me just go ahead and switch our screens up real quick.
Ooh.
There you are. And
looking for that spooky river goop. Ugh.
There we go. We can get this into focus a little bit better, but you come up to this little village, and you are promptly met as you approach by one satyr and one halfling, very humbly dressed in some simple cloth and some simple leathers, kind of commoner wear, but they are both holding spears, and they have them pointed out at you, and the satyr says, "Hey, halt there! Who goes there?"
Aya immediately, she puts her hands up, or I put my hands up as kind of like a not holding any weapons type of deal, and she goes, my name is Aya. These are some of my friends. We were just coming from visiting the druids. We had heard tell of some strange happening in the forest, and we were coming to ask you questions about it. We're here to help." And she puts her hands down.
Okay. Go ahead and give me a persuasion check.
Okay. Okay, 18.
18, okay. That seems to be enough to assuage the nervousness, the mention of the druids. And so the satyr kind of puts his spear down and looks to the halfling, and with kind of a hurried hand gesture indicates that the halfling should put his spear down as well. And so the two kind of put their spears at rest, and they say, "Well, if the druid sent you, We certainly would appreciate the help. I apologize for being a little on edge. We had something of an incident last night. Well, I'm Sprick, and this is Sprack. And he points to the little halfling, a little golden-haired, very tan-skinned halfling, who kind of stands up at attention at his name and gives a little salute. And says, well, I imagine you would want to speak with Gildan, the chief, and I imagine she would be of help on your quest. We certainly do appreciate you being here.
We would love to speak to Gildan. Thank you so much, Sprack.
Oh,
Ryu. Oh, sure. I quickly snap and do a salute as well. Hello, Sprick and Sprack. We're here to help.
and they give like a little double tap salute and clip the nails, but you notice that both of them, after Mora's hello, have like turned like bright red, like Lucas in the village, and they turn and they say, well, let's welcome into the village, and we'll lead you through the gates into the village. You see a very humble village, mostly either mud and straw thatched buildings. Some are still living in tents. You are all well aware of these types of villages, as there aren't many of them in the deep forest, but along the trade roads, various areas surrounding major cities, these types of small farming villages are very, very common. They lead you through, and there are mostly satyrs and halflings who are tanning some leathers, cooking an afternoon meal, that sort of thing. And they all kind of stop and look at this very strange group making their way through. But you make it towards the back of the village, which is not very large at all. And there's clearly something of a temple shrine, again, not uncommon in villages of these size, kind of laid back from the village and up against the forest. Let me go ahead and do a little bit of readjusting here and see if I can get that image into position a little bit better. So yeah, you make your way up through the village here, and you can see up towards the top of the screen there is this little temple, and standing there speaking with some villagers is Gildan, herself a halfling, looks quite a bit like Sprack, but as a female. Capable, strong-looking young halfling, and she turns as Sprick and Sprack come up, and she says, Gildan, sorry to interrupt. Yes, what is it? Well, you see, adventurers from the Druids have arrived, and they say they're here to help with the incidents. And so this gets her attention, and she turns and she says, well, welcome. That is some fine timing the four of you have. I'm Gildan. Welcome to our village.
Thanks for having us.
I do a little curtsy. Meeting her.
And she will nod her head in respect as well.
Mora bows slightly, smiles.
I quickly kind of like step up and just pull out the vial. Have you seen anything like this? The vial of slime and stuff like it, because it was coming down the river, and I see the river goes right through here. So,
she looks at it and she says, "Interesting," and she beckons over to you and kind of brings the group over to kind of what is like a lake or a pond. It's an area of the river that kind of is diverted by the villagers. Kind of up the way a little bit, you can see that there's been some damming that's been done, right? And now they have kind of a regular area for fresh water. You see a small what should be like a fish farm, right? So there are these like posts set up in the water in kind of the deepest area, and nets that are on kind of a pulley system, allowing them to quickly pull up the nets and catch a school of fish. But it is also clearly broken. And as she points out, she says, it's funny that you bring it, because just last night we had an incident, and then we found here at the fish farm, we found it in a state of disrepair. I was just talking with our carpenter about repairing it. And as you can see, and she points to the farm and kind of spread out over the netting and several of the wood areas, more of that group and glop.
Ooh.
So what was this commotion yesterday? Because Rick and Sprack said the same thing, but I don't know.
At this, Sprick the satyr gets a little defensive looking, right? He like gives a big pout and crosses his arms. Rumph! Well, they got me right in the middle of, my patrol. And Sprack will kind of cut him off and say, well, last night we were on watch outside of the walls, and from inside we heard a big commotion, and by the time we got there, the fish farm had been wrecked, and we were able to see several shadowy figures hurrying into the forest and down this stream, but as we tried to give chase, we thought it best not to go out into the night, just the two of us. It seems as though they broke into one of the tents and took some things, and nothing too important, just some clothing and whatnot, but definitely did some damage to the farm. And about a week or so ago, they took off with most of our chickens and a newborn lamb. So it's been happening every 10 days or so.
Oh.
What type of figures were these? Large ones? Small ones?
Well, it seemed like whatever was going off in the woods seemed somewhat my size, says Sprack, the halfling. And Sprick kind of pops up to attendants and is like, yeah, but whatever it was that went off into the river was a good bit larger.
Huh.
Can you show us where they last were?
Well, yeah.
Where did they last get?
And so he'll kind of walk you over to the edge of the wall. This they've clearly taken tree trunks and kind of shaved them down, made walling along the outside perimeter of the village, but it's not A grade. It's certainly not Esterfelian or anything like that. So there are several gaps and broken parts and openings and whatnot. But he'll point out kind of towards the south and say, this is southwest, sorry, and say, well, this is where we last spotted them, and it's mostly open forest and the river kind of heading out into the forest.
Yeah, I want to see if I can find any noticeable tracks or footprints or things like it that might give an indication of what this could have been.
Sure, go ahead and give me that nature check or survival check. Survival.
Can I still claim my favorite terrain since we're still in the woods?
Yes.
Sweet. Perfect, because I rolled a 1 the first time, but now I have a 20. A dirty 20.
Much better.
Yeah, much, much better.
Okay, so dirty 20. Ryutaro gets into the investigation. At first, he's chest up, arms at his side. He looks one way, he looks the other way. He looks high, he looks low. And then suddenly he's kind of like on all fours, ass up in the air, and kind of scurrying on his fingers and toe tips around the forest bed. And Koji is doing exactly the same thing. So the two of them are under a bush, over a bush, behind a tree, in front of a tree, on top of a tree, under a tree.
I is watching them like, 2 peas in a pod, those two.
And after a few moments, Ryutaro stops and kind of pops up. It's clear that the goo is a little bit thicker here as it kind of goes along the river, this kind of stream up to the dam that they've made. And then when it gets to the main part of the river, it's a little bit harder to track because the current gets quite a bit stronger. In the woods, you do find tracks. These tracks are almost like that of a large bird. Probably, I would say 6 to 8 inches long, but just very, very light and very, very scattered, like chaotically scattered. There's not a lot of depth in the dirt and the soil here, so you're just kind of able to see where the leaves and foliage has been pressed down a little bit, so it's hard to determine what it is that caused these tracks. But it's very, very scattered and running around in a very manic manner before getting lost deep into the forest.
Huh. Hey, is our Sprick and Sprack and is Gildan with us as well?
Yeah, they're nearby.
Yeah.
They're kind of
Okay,
standing
perfect.
by Aya and Goro, trying to figure out what it is you're doing.
Hey, have you guys seen any big birds around here?
Big birds. We look at each other like, no, nothing like that.
Oh no, because I'm seeing some pretty... I mean, they're all over the place, but I'm seeing some tracks and more goo up here, but interspersed, there's these, like, kind of scritch marks, as if something's kind of hopping around. Have you heard anything weird out in the woods? Anything?
No, not at all.
Huh.
Well, Ryu, how big of a bird are we talking? I mean, how big are these tracks that you're finding?
Well, they're about, like, I don't know, maybe 8 inches long. So either we have a pretty big bird or a small bird with very big feet. But I'd be kind of surprised by that one.
You are then descended upon by a flock of small birds with very large feet. Roll for initiative.
It's Big Bird, everybody.
You do get the sense
Just
that
an entire army of big birds.
yes, this whole campaign has taken a very strange Muppet-based twist, as you now find yourselves in a world of stuffed
On
animals.
Sesame Street.
What was this Satyr village called? Oh, Sesame Street?
You do get the sense with your roll, you do get the sense that this must be probably either a small or small creature or on the very small side of medium creature that is making these tracks. And you do.
I'd like to look at the tracks as well and see if in my own adventures I recognize it.
Okay, go ahead and same thing, survival check.
Let's see. A 17.
17, okay. So, as you're looking at it, you don't necessarily know what it is, but what really drives home for you is that there's a very, very frantic nature to these tracks, as if someone is beating a hasty retreat into the woods.
We can tell the direction that they are going.
Yes, they're headed out towards the southwest.
I turn to the rest of the group. Shall we follow? Go deeper into the woods?
Do you really think it's possible that their regular nightly incursion is due to this? Or was it... I just have never seen a humanoid with bird feet.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, though, I've never really known a bird to steal clothing. So, we'll see. I mean, chickens and food, yeah, but they said that they went into the tents, right? But, I think it's worth checking out at the very least, especially if we're seeing slime kind of around here as well.
I would agree.
And
Well, let us go.
wait, hold on, Ryu, Mora, does it seem like the tracks and the slime are the same thing, or are they separate? I can't tell.
Well, I don't know if it's a slimy bird, but it does seem that they're coinciding, you know? There's goop and there's birds. So unless the bird is scared of the goop and running away, but they did say Sprick and Sprack. They were running away pretty quick. Those shadows you were talking about, right?
Oh yeah, as soon as we gave chase, they were out of here.
Did you tell if they had bird feet?
No, they were mostly just shadows by the time we saw them retreating. It was hard to tell what they were in the darkness.
And you said they've been coming every 10 day or so?
Pretty indiscriminately, but it's certainly not the first time that this has happened.
Oh,
I say we follow the tracks as far as they lead us.
All right.
I'm all for that. Let's get out there, see what we can find.
Alrighty. I guess I will kind of start crawling along the tracks, trying to make sure that we aren't getting lost and all that. And then,
Wait, crawling along the tracks? Are you on all fours with Koji?
kind of, I like to picture it as I'm kind of like doing what I was doing when I was first exploring them. It's like randomly just kind of flitting around, then you just see me like pick up a stick and smell it, and I'm like, they're this way. And then, yeah.
I will follow Ryu, but keeping an eye for whatever comes out of the woods.
So, the four of you follow the tracks about far enough away from the village to the southwest, to the point where you can no longer see the village, and the tracks become more difficult to follow. It's been a morning. There are various woodland animals that have come through the area. The river is a little bit stronger here, so it's been kind of kicking up water over tracks, and it seems as though they did make their way to the river at some point. So what I'd like us to do from here is I would like us to go in turn. We will go one by one, and I'll ask that each of you make for me a skill check, whichever one you'd like, as long as they're different. So if somebody takes perception, for instance, perception is off the board. But I would ask that each of you make for me a skill check and tell us a little bit about what your character does to find a clue or a lead, something to guide you towards what may have been causing the distress in the village. So with that, let's go ahead and we will start. Let's start with Mora. As you walk through the woods and the four of you realize that you're not sure which direction to lead to go in any further, you take a moment to think, and you decide to do what next.
I go and look for any other signs of disturbance, whether that's broken fronds, an additional bit of dropped cloth, some other strange mark that would not be natural to this place, a bit of goop from somewhere else, perhaps just an oddity in the flora and fauna that I can witness, and I will use investigation to do so.
Okay, go ahead and give me that roll.
21.
21. Okay. So, as you are making your way up the river, you come to this very small waterfall, maybe a foot or two. And there's several boulders and some trees and brush have kind of gotten caught up on the side of the river. And as you're investigating and looking around, you notice that kind of thrown over these trees, discarded, is quite a bit of clothing. As if someone had run with an armful of laundry, and some of it had fallen into the river or fallen away, and it's kind of strewn out and about. And as you're looking at each of these pieces, you realize that they are all of the discarded pieces are rather large. So there's a shirt, there is a pair of pants, one boot, and you realize that these must have belonged to the satyrs and not the halflings of the village, because these are much more made for kind of medium-sized creatures, and they're very much soiled from having been pulled through the woods and dropped and whatnot. But that's what you discover.
And I will call out then to the party as well as Gildan. Say, here, I have found some clothing. I believe that this was taken from you.
Oh. I come running over to see.
Sorry, Gildan and the others stayed back at the village.
Very well then. I'll just call out then to the party here. Ryu, Goro, Aya, come. This looks like the clothing of the satyrs.
Oh, boy. Why would they... They took the clothing and then they just left it?
They only left the larger clothing, I imagine.
Huh.
Maybe they just were in such a rush that it fell out.
Or perhaps they didn't care for it. Maybe they only wanted the smaller clothing. Maybe these creatures are diminutive?
Possibly. Or it could also just be that they grabbed whatever they could and took stock of what they had, realized this was not what they needed, and just discarded it. Maybe.
But why take clothing in the first place?
I know, it's odd.
So they're not naked.
I would certainly hope not.
And as you look around, Mora, you're able to see that there is something of a trail of this clothing, and so you're able to kind of continue it a while further. Goro, we'll go to you next. You have followed this trail of clothing. There's some pantaloons and some socks and this discarded clothing. But eventually the trail of clothing does come to an end, and now you take a moment to decide what next to do.
I will use my Leonin senses of smell and hearing to take in the forest and the surrounding area, and use my perception to seek out either continued tracks or a scent on the wind, a scent on the air, or broken branches rustling in the trees. Do whatever comes to me.
Okay. Go ahead and give me that perception check.
A 6.
A 6, okay. The four of you take a moment as the clothing trail kind of ends, and Goro begins kind of smelling the air and looking around, and you get the slightest sense of foulness, the slightest sense of rot and stench, and you can begin to follow it. And so the four of you begin moving a little bit away from the river and towards the stench. What would you like to do?
I wrinkle my nose and there's something foul this way. Follow. And I start to kind of march through the brush in that general direction, keeping in mind I am wearing full plate armor and shield and spear as I kind of just trounce my own path through the forest.
Okay. Do me a favor and just go ahead and roll a stealth check at disadvantage for me.
A 10.
A 10. Okie dokie. So, the three of you are somewhat left to follow behind Goro, who now is charging into the woods towards this smell.
I will follow.
Where is he going?
I don't know, but he said something smelled foul in this direction. I mean, it's better than any other leads that we have.
So is the direction he's going clearly different from the path that we have found with the footprints as well as the clothes?
That path has come to an end, so there's really no way
Okay.
to determine whether or not it's different.
Okay. Well, he seems like he's pretty confident, so let's go.
Goro, you are marching forward when you break the clearing, and that smell has gotten stronger and stronger. As you break the clearing, you find yourself in a camp, and kind of clustered around the camp are three large dog-like men creatures. And you've encountered creatures like this in the past. These are gnolls. In your fights up in the mountains, gnolls have been common. And they heard and saw you coming, and so we will roll for initiative.
Ah! Oh boy.
Well, here goes.
Okay.
Let's go. Knowles. I got a 2 initiative.
I got a 12.
Would be a 5 for me.
I got a 22.
Ooh, nice.
Nice. Okay, so that's going to put Ryu at the top of the order.
Seeing these guys kind of go, I guess I'm gonna see. I always want to be friendly at the start, but I feel like they look pretty mean.
Yes, these
So-
are not friendly-looking creatures.
Yeah. All right. I was like, oh crap. Okay, let's go. And I shoot at one of them. I'll shoot with the one up in front with a marksman, sharpshooter, longbow.
Ooh.
And I rolled a nat 20.
Hey!
Hey,
Uh,
first roll of combat is a nat 20. That's good.
Yeah.
so, does that double my?
It automatically does it, so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, but just the dice, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't double my bonus.
Right. When you
Okay.
when you roll, click for the damage roll, it's automatically going to make
Yeah.
all the correct.
Perfect. So that's a 24,
To hit.
and then I am. No, I nat 20. So the damage is 24.
Okay.
And then I am going to use Koji's reaction to add 1d6
Okay.
of fire damage. So Koji adds 2 additional damage.
Okay. Well, you guys come out of the woods, and Goro's tromping out of the woods. When Ryutaro, you were kind of towards the back, right? So Goro comes out of the woods.
Yep.
Aya and Mora just behind him, and you see all three of them stop. And these gnolls are charging forward. and you just unleash a arrow without giving a moment of hesitation, and it squarely hits the gnoll in the front, smack dab between the eyes, and he drops dead.
Whoa!
And that's my.
Yeah, I mean, what a turn. So that's this
amazing.
first one here. He is off. And so as your bow fires and it lands in the skull of the gnoll, just like in Greenhaven and just like how when you fought the owlbears, the gnoll falls to the ground and lays dead momentarily, before you begin to see as light shimmers from inside the creature, and it breaks into thousands of pieces, and right then and there transforms into arcana, into magic, which flows into each of your adventuring guild rings. That makes it Aya's turn.
Cool. Okay. I am going to... Let me see how close I am. Oh, look. Yeah, they're within range. All right. I'm going to aim at the gnoll that's on the right-hand side
Okay.
of the screen. And I'm going to cast a second level Scorching Ray
Okay.
to that one. Has a range of 120 feet.
Sure, no problem.
Oh no, that was an 8, but I'm going to use a luck point
Okay.
to re-roll that one. Because absolutely not. Gonna try again. Natural 20!
Oh my goodness.
5!
Oh my goodness.
Love it.
Oh,
I was not having that, so it was like she goes to cast it and she like, come on, and just does it a second time.
Yes, kind of snaps those fingers again. You really
Yeah.
get that radiant energy going, and then a mote of magic comes pouring out. Okay. Best laid plans of mice and gnolls quickly going awry here, but
Let me roll some damage for you. Hold on. My 2d6. My Scorching Ray damage 2d6 is 5, so
okay.
less than average, but that does it crit for damage?
It should, if you crit it, it should have just automatically calculated for it.
Oh, okay.
But that was just one. So you have 2 more. Right.
Because it shoots 3 rays.
You create 3 rays of fire and hurl them at a target within range. You can hurl them at one target or several. Make a range attack for each ray. So you have 2 more rays that you can fire off.
Cool. I'm going to shoot second one, the second ray at the same gnoll, and then the third ray at the other one, because they're both in range.
Right. And so you cast this at second level, right? So that is still just the 3 rays and no extra damage on that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead and cast again.
Everything's covered up by the thing. It would be 7 damage for the second ray.
You have to roll the attack again.
Oh, my apologies.
No worries.
19.
But that'll hit, so we'll take the 7 on that as well. And then this gnoll that you are hitting 2 scorching rays with is bloodied. So you can go ahead and try to attack for a third scorching ray.
Oh, I don't actually think I'll be able to do that. I only have, in my second level, I only have 2 spell slots.
No, but you have 3 rays within the spell.
Oh, within the spell. Okay. Accidentally. Sorry. Third one. Let's go. Crossing my fingers. Third one was a 6.
That one misses. So you two scorching rays, and they hit the gnoll square on, and he's howling, wincing in dog hyena-like pain, and just as it's writhing about in agony, the third ray just goes wide. You would have hit if he was standing still, but he's kind of moving at this point. That makes it Mora's turn.
All right. I will, looking at the rays going by, I will look to the most distant of the gnolls, and I will yell out, "Yield, or face your doom!" And I will cast Mind Sliver upon it.
Ooh.
Okay,
Nice.
what does he have to do for that?
That is an intelligence saving throw. Intelligence is 13.
Okay, and just so this is the unharmed gnoll or the gnoll that I had been attacking?
The unharmed one.
Okay, so a big intelligence roll coming your way. Watch out. That is a 5. Ha ha ha, he says. You shall not best me this day.
All right, but if it's a 5, then he didn't make his 13.
So, okay. Yes, he fails. He fails that.
Very good. He will take 5 points of psychic damage.
Ooh.
And he has a penalty on his next saving throw.
Haha.
Wonderful. Well, that makes it the injured Noel's turn.
And 2, for reference, is the penalty to his next saving throw.
Got it. He is pretty hurt, pretty torn up after getting 2, scorching rays to the chest and seeing his buddy scorched. And so what he'll do is he turns tail. He turns tail and heads up behind this tree and will take the hide action to try to hide behind this tree. And you can see he's well bloodied. And so the cowardly nature of Knowles here is taking over. And he hightails it behind the tree and goes to hide. However, his companion, the mind-slivered one, doesn't quite comprehend what just pierced in agony his mind, but it has put him into a rage, and he comes charging forward, letting out a whinny-ish howl. As he charges forward, and he's going to dash right up in front of Goro, but that will take
Opportunity attack.
Yes.
As a polearm master.
Yes.
Get smacked.
For a 14 to hit.
That'll hit.
And it's like
No,
he
sorry,
runs
it does
right-
not hit. I'm sorry. That does not hit. Wah, wah. Sorry about that. He's run a little too fast, and you think it's going to hit, but he dives down just in time as he goes to pounce on you to miss that opportunity attack. That was rough. I'm sorry about that.
It's okay.
But that does make it your turn. So you have a chance.
So as the gnoll runs towards me, and I lean into my opportunity attack that goes just over him as he ducks down, I quickly reset with shield on one arm, single-handing wielding the spear, attack again with another thrust. For 18 to hit.
That will hit.
Yeah.
And I drive the spear into him for 9 points of damage.
Woo! Okay, he is bloodied as well.
And then I pull back and whip it around in my hand and pummel him with my bonus attack.
Ooh,
Get
baby.
it. Get it.
For 13. I don't think 13 hits. No.
Just misses. Okay. So that will be your turn, and it brings us back to the top of the round where we have Ryutaro.
All right. I see this gnoll running out, and I don't want him alerting other ones, so I'm gonna kind of try and run around Aya to get a better eye on him, and then I am going to once again shoot with sharpshooter, because you always got to do sharpshooter.
Yo.
Yes, you do.
That's a natural 1.
Ugh.
No.
So here's what happens. You go to fire, and as you do, your elbow hits your quiver, and all of your arrows scatter out onto the ground, and it'll take an action to pull them back into the quiver and collect them.
Oh, no.
Crap.
And that brings us to, is there anything else you want to do to Ryutaro?
No. I just kind of...
No.
I just fall, like, ugh. Just like scrambling as fast as possible.
Aya, it is your turn. You can see the one knoll right in front of Goro. The other one is hiding behind the tree, though you're not exactly sure where he is.
Okay. So the knoll that's in the tree, I can't see him, right? I just know he's over in that general area.
Correct.
Ooh, okay.
And the one in front of Goro is looking bloody.
Ooh, okay.
I have this one if you want to find the other.
All right. I'm going to have... All right, I'd like to have Aya... So I'm going to run around that cluster of boulders there on the right-hand side to stand just next to the top one there.
Okay.
Is that 30 feet? 10, 15, 20. I can get close to that last boulder on the right there.
Got it.
To just kind of change my perspective. Can I see him a little bit better? The knoll that was trying to hide in the tree? Am I able to see?
Go ahead and give me a quick perception check.
Sure. I got 15.
I'm going to say that you can see him, but from where he's hidden, to put an attack on him from here would give him 3/4 cover.
Oh, 3/4 cover. Okay. I want to try something. Okay. Hail Mary of a thing. I'd like to try using Sacred Flame.
Okay.
On. So like, yes, he's in 3/4 cover, but I'm like, I think I can see him, so I'm gonna go for it, and I'm gonna try to cast Sacred Flame. He needs to make a Dex save of 13.
Oh boy.
To get away.
No, he does not get away.
He does it? Okay. Or he takes 1d8 radiant damage. Yeah, so let me get my 1d8 here. Well, I mean, he is kind of hidden. It's 2, so he gets 2 points of radiant damage.
Okay. Yeah, so he kind of whips around the tree, kind of tail tucked between his legs, hunched over, and you're just kind of able to see his posterior hanging out, and you fire radiant damage to him, and it gets him kind of square in the butt.
I love it. I love it so much.
Anything else you'd like to do with your turn?
Just... So, with my spiritual weapon being a mace, does that have to be a spiritual weapon that I am holding to hit somebody, or does it float in space that I can...
No, it floats in space. You can even move it. Yeah, it's... Yeah.
Okay.
This one that is a bonus action spell though, so you'll have to save that for your next turn, considering you just cast your radiant spell there.
Okay, that's really good to know because I was a little confused by the wording on D&D Beyond, but now I got it.
Right.
And nope, that one takes an action to do. So no, that's my turn. But I did see him and I'm like, ah, and my finger is still pointing at where she had cast. So she had done something. But yeah, that's my turn.
Great. You hear an agonizing squeal from behind the tree, Mora, as it is now your turn. You have the one knoll in front of Goro, which Goro has claimed for himself, and you also have a squealing but hurt knoll behind the tree somewhere.
I don't remember giving you permission to leave. And with that, there's an amethyst flash from her rings, and she will gesture, and she will drop a sleep spell with the 20-foot radius out there around where the flash of flame was, the knoll that I am going after.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And rolling some dice. That's 18 points of sleep.
From where you are, actually, both you and Aya can... who somehow has dropped down to 20% opacity on the screen. Let's correct that real quick. Ha ha! I'm a professional! Ha ha ha!
I'm see-through!
Yes.
I'm a spectral ghost on the screen.
But both all three of you can see kind of from behind this tree, you see and hear this thump as the knoll kind of sprawls out on its back, fast asleep, not unlike the owl bear from the day before.
With that, Mora will take a 5-foot step backwards just to give Goro a little more space to work.
Got it. Okay, just before Goro's turn, though, it is the knoll in front of him who is also well-bloodied. And he comes in to take a big bite at Goro. Let's see if it hits. That is a 21 to hit.
Just barely hits.
Yeah, so he kind of jumps up and is able to kind of grab you in that space between your neck and the armor there, and he gives you a big bite. Let's see here. For 6 points of piercing damage.
Give me a second. Okay.
And then it is
So
your turn.
I immediately counter with a spear attack. For a natural 20.
Lord almighty. Okay.
Yeah!
I was only half joking about
Bring
like
it.
CR13 monsters, but you know.
I use my shield to give him a push off of me to give a little bit of space, and then immediately single-hand thrust the spear forward for 15 points of damage.
And actually, real quick, as a reaction, Koji adds 1d6 fire damage to that attack damage, so you get to double that as well.
Oh!
One
Initial 2d6. You add 2d6.
Another 2d6. Okay, got it. Right. Okay.
Yes, there's
So-
no kill like overkill.
For 7 points of additional fire damage on my thrust.
Amazing.
Okay, so here's what's happening. So Goro, this knoll kind of bites into you and leaps backwards, readying its next attack. And with a lion-like roar, you leap into the air, and that spear comes crashing down on the knoll. Right behind you is Koji coming in with the assist. And you just spear into this knoll, skewering him like a kebab as this giant, massive Leonin lion-like creature comes down on this hyena-like creature. And we have this momentary cut to David Attenborough in the Serengeti. We now have Goro, who has captured an unsuspecting knoll. And as soon as that narration is done, we then cut to Goro spit roasting a knoll here by this nice little lake and watering hole in kind of a Hawaiian t-shirt and board shorts, and Koji is kind of sitting on a spread out lawn chair with a pina colada and some aviator sunglasses on, as you two have just destroyed and spit roasted this knoll.
Koji and I cheers our glasses. Clink. Hey.
So
I just off to the bathroom going, oh, with like big shiny eyes and sparkles, just admiring the glory.
Well done.
It is not long, however, until this knoll as well shatters into thousands of pieces of spectral light and disappears into each of your Custom Adventurers Guild rings. Unless you would like to do anything else with the sleeping knoll.
We should kill it. Gnolls know no mercy. They're hunters and killers.
You think perhaps we should try to converse with it first?
We're not going to let sleeping gnolls lie.
Well,
Okay,
I do have
talk
a
to
bunch
it
of
first.
rope.
Then kill it. Talk first, then kill.
Kill then talk. No, talk then kill. Right? Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I am a cleric of the church. I could. Oh, okay. kind of.
I mean, let's be real. The church. All right. I'm gonna go over and start tying the sleeping knoll up, using all of the knots I learned in Boy Scouts.
I could just imagine Ryu with just all of the patches, like just an entire vest, just that.
Yeah. As I'm tying it up, I'm like explaining to Koji what each different knot is. Like, this is a hitch. This is a square. You know, I'm gonna do a bow line over here.
Once Ryu has him tied up, you can wake the knoll up. He's fairly well secured. As he wakes up, you just hear a snarling, gnashing of his teeth as he kind of tries to bite out at anything that comes close to him.
I put the tip of my spear just under his jaw, up against his throat, just pushing slightly.
It kind of lets out clenches its teeth and kind of, but calms down with the spear point at its neck.
Does anyone speak Gnoll?
I will get close to him and I will stare at him, and I will use my hypnotic gaze to try and get him to calm down.
Okay. Go ahead and give me I'm assuming just you're trying to use not a spell, but your own.
Yeah, that's a wisdom saving throw, DC 13.
Oh.
It's an innate.
Oh. Okay. Wisdom spell. Let's go ahead and give that a shot. He calms.
Ah.
So that will render him effectively incapacitated and dazed.
Okay.
And I can maintain that effect on subsequent turns as my main action.
Got it.
Are gnolls considered monstrosities?
Yes. Yes, for
Okay.
this we'll say they would most probably be in the monstrosity class.
Perfect.
I mean, really, they're in the gnoll class, but...
Yes. Can I just run a nature check to see if I know anything about... Basically, do they speak a language that I would know, or common? Because just because it's common doesn't mean it'll respond.
Sure.
I'd like to assist with that.
Yeah, I get
Just-
advantage because it's favored.
Oh, okay. So you're fine then.
Mm-hmm.
You,
So I got a 21.
yeah, you know that they speak Gnoll. They speak a language of themselves, not of a. It's a very distant relative of, kind of the beast speak that is, commonly referred to as Leonin. And that all of the beast people of Agonia are capable of speaking, but it's far too different to be considered one of the common languages.
Gotcha. Would I consider that Leonin? I might be able to get a couple words here and there that they might. Or I'm okay. Yeah. All right.
Looking at him, I will say, "Do you speak any of the common tongue, creature?"
Can I understand what he's saying since I am Leonin?
No.
I also speak Leonin.
Okay.
Yeah, guys, I don't think he's gonna be much of a talker.
Pity.
I didn't pick up Noel in Ranger School. That was didn't have
Was
that
that
on
an
the island.
elective that you decided not to take?
So, something like that.
Well, alas, it is a monstrosity, nothing more. And with that, Mora will stand and take a step backwards.
Taking a cue from Mora, I run my spear through him. Right through the neck.
Sure.
Yeah. Ryutaro just like winces back. He's like, "Oh!"
And he is dead, being incapacitated, and at what hit points he has, he slumps down dead. And after a few moments, turns to shattering light and is absorbed by your rings.
I would like to go over and take a look at their little encampment that they were all kind of surrounded around to see if I see anything that might have been from the druids or the possible leftovers of the animals that they may have taken.
Right. You begin to poke around for a bit, and this is mostly chewed up carcasses, filth, feces, nothing, of civilized. You don't find any clothing, and you don't find, remnants of anything that strikes you as coming from the village or from the druids. But what you do happen to find is what best can be described as you look at it as a poster bill. Like it's this little piece of parchment paper, and very kind of crudely drawn onto it are these like faces that kind of look like Koji, like with little stars drawn around them. And as you flip it over on the back side, there is an even more crudely drawn map that basically is a circle with some dog faces drawn on it and a line to a cave with some small Koji-like sketches on it.
Guys, take a look at this. And she takes the poster that she found and brings it over to them and shows them. These look like little Kojis. Look, and I'm pointing at the little Kojis with the stars and showing them. It kind of looks like a map. Like maybe these are different camp locations in the area.
If I'd have to wager a guess, I'd say a circle with dogs. Is that here?
I don't know.
And then I feel like if there were drakes flying around in here, I think it'd be like kobolds or something.
I smile at Koji and I'm like, "Koji, I think your fame precedes you."
I wouldn't be surprised if most things in this forest were scared of him. He is quite formidable.
He is.
Are there any clothes or anything from the camp nearby? Is it
No.
possible that... No.
I guess Aya, go ahead and give me a perception check.
Ooh, okay. 21.
Yeah, so you are looking at this map and this poster bill. It seems to be for some kind of performance. You're like looking at it's like you at first what you just thought was like random markings is actually like just incredibly misspelled common. And so as you're looking at this parchment, you're like it appears like that they're trying to put on some kind of performance, and the back does seem to be a map kind of up to the north. Doesn't seem like it's very far, because as you're looking at it, it seems like, okay, wait, maybe that's a rock, and maybe that's a fallen tree, and you're getting the sense that they must have been putting down some landmarks.
Yeah, I kind of lay it flat for a second, looking it over, and just like, I think this might be a map. Look, this boulder looks like the one that we crossed a little while back. It's kind of the same shape. And I think it kind of looks like this was directions to go to a show or a performance of some kind. Like, this is very poorly written common, but that's what it's looking like, and it's not far from here. Did we want to go investigate?
Yes.
I mean, I never knew Knowles to put on theater, but I don't think I can pass that one up.
Neither did I.
Sounds delightful, and I think we have exactly the right person in this group that can serve as someone who might be interested in attending.
Well, I think I'd agree.